Okay, let's just jump in. This will be like the start right here. Let's just jump in.
I have a good idea for how we start it.
Okay.
The Oscars.
We're
all familiar. The Academy Awards is what they're officially known as.
Do you know why they're called the Oscars?
Because they give you a man named Oscar. Is there an actual Oscar?
Yeah,
they don't give you an actual man. It's like a representation of a man. That'd be wild if you won a man.
Maybe like in like an Illuminati sense, they actually do give someone a man named
right.
Oscar.
We don't know
time,
what goes on behind the scenes.
Yeah, but it's like in the Hollywood Hills mansions.
The mansion of man. Of men is the plural.
Yeah.
Why is it? Who is the man? The naked man? Is it based on a man?
No. So what happened was that this guy.
Are you making this up?
No,
okay.
I'm not making this up. It was like
you should know. Nick's an actor.
It was a long time ago. There's
right.
like 50 of them, right? Is this the 50th year or 70th year? Or
I'll look it up.
Yeah,
while you tell your story.
So an undisclosed time ago when they started the Oscars. It may not have been the first year, but there was this guy who like went up and accepted his Academy Award.
Completely naked.
Completely naked.
What was he accepting?
An Academy Award.
But what was the award? What did it look like?
I think it was for Best Actor.
No, but what did the statuette look like?
I think so. Here's the story, Mary Ellen. If you let me finish it, was that he looked at the Oscar statue, which looked very similar to what it looks like today, and he went, "Oh man, it looks like my Uncle Oscar."
That's not true.
And then for the rest of time,
I wish I could get those minutes back that I just
wasted. You asked for that.
That's
story.
not true.
Okay, audience, record a little bit, and I think how it went though was me saying, "Do you know why they call it an Oscar?" And then you said, "Oh, please tell me."
Right, but I wanted to know the actual story. That's not the real
story.
It's not.
That is the story.
It's not.
Look it up. Look it up. If I'm correct, I get 5 points off the star. Right away.
That's not how this game works.
Look it up. Look it up. If I'm right, I get plus 5 points.
First of all, it is the 92nd Academy Awards.
Wow, 92.
I remember the first one still. Do you? I was there.
Hey, Nene. I think you're... Yeah, but yeah, it's
That's a joke related to one of the films we watched.
Yeah, I just called her an old woman.
Mm-hmm. Also, it was televised for the first time in 1953. It used to be on radio. Can you imagine just like sitting around the radio?
I think
listening to who's a good
actor.
Oscar statuette. It depicts a knight?
Sure.
What knights are...
That's fine.
The 5 spokes... He's holding a crusader's sword.
I don't think that's true anymore.
Standing on a reel of film with 5 spokes.
Is that... how?
The model for the statuette is said to be Mexican actor Emilio Fernandez.
Huh.
So he was like naked, and they're like...
Okay, sure. This is all fine, but this does not tell us how it was named.
Naming. The Academy officially adopted the name Oscar for the trophies in 1939. Yes. However, the origin for the nickname is disputed, Nicholas.
Disputed?
Uh-huh. One biography of Betty Davis. Was it Betty? It's not just Bet. Bette. Bet?
I'm not going to answer. I'm just going to let you live.
I'll kill you.
Your
who was a president, claims she named the award after her first husband, band leader Harmon Oscar Nelson.
Huh.
A frequently mentioned originator, so your story is half wrong, is Margaret Herrick, the Academy Executive Secretary, who, when she first saw the award in 1931, said the statuette reminded her of Uncle Oscar.
There.
A nickname for her cousin.
Fucking nailed it.
Why is her nickname for her cousin Uncle? She sounds like a confused woman.
No, I think that I deserve at least 1 point. I'm going to give myself a +1.
You said it was a man who was winning the award. But that's not true.
So some of the peripheral details
it sounds like you actually
off.
It sounds like you erased a woman's story.
Oh my God.
You should get negative 10 points for misogyny.
You know what? I'll drop the 5 points. But I just want everyone to know that the gist of my story was correct. And that Mary Ellen, much like last time. No, stop. Don't sing Christmas music.
I've had Christmas music in my head lately. I think I'm going insane.
Well, that's very
Anyway, welcome to movie versus... It's very what knowledge?
What? Sorry?
welcome to movie versus movie.
Yeah.
I'm your co-host, Mary Ellen.
And I'm a co-host, Nick.
I'm a co-host. How many do we have?
Well, we only have 2, but you said your, and I'm just a.
Oh, you don't want them to possess you.
Yeah, we are not things, Mary Ellen.
I'm familiar, yes. I can be your co-host. I don't care. I have a lot of attachment to my
sure.
agency.
Okay, well, that's just troubling.
there's a lot of troubling things about me, Nick.
Yeah, I mean, so for the audience, this might be like a little bit of a rough ride because Mary Ellen
Are you gonna tell them about my life?
She may or may not be a little hungover from a party last night that we went to.
It was a work party.
It was a work
party. And it was an open bar. The drinks were free.
Which, I mean, workplace, thank you so much. That was a very fun party.
I want to give a shout out to Workplace.
Yeah, and
it was great. It was not messy
it wasn't
or anything
messy.
like that. I just drank a good amount.
Yeah.
Because it was free. Yeah. I'm broke. I don't often get a chance to
and also
kick back.
Mary Ellen likes to eat bread a lot, but not a whole lot else. So you didn't eat a whole lot of the food that was passed around.
Right.
So
it was purely I just ate 2 slices of bread and like a few drinks.
Yeah. There was cheese pizza that you just did not go with.
But it had other elements on it.
Like
it had
sauce.
I can leave this room at any time.
Okay, yeah, you're right. Let's get to the topic at hand.
So the Oscars, we're all familiar. And now we're all familiar with apparently the story behind the
which was 100% correct.
Except for the gender issue.
God, yeah, you're right.
We decided to take on the topic of
Oscar snubs.
Bwah, 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 bwah. That was my air horn.
I love that.
I have an air horn app actually.
Should we wait for you to pull it up?
Yeah, here, do it again.
Okay. Oscar snubs.
I don't know if that's loud enough. Hold on. Try it again. One more time.
Okay, right? Oscar snubs.
It's good.
And to be clear, we're doing Oscar snubs from this year, not just historical Oscar snubs.
Yeah, we were talking about this theme to somebody last night, and they're like, you know what was snubbed? And I forget.
Lord of the Rings, which I agree.
Didn't they win like every Oscar?
No, that was the last one, which I think everyone would agree was probably the least.
I got so sick of them. It's like,
really?
We get it. You're going to the mountain. I haven't seen Lord of the Rings since I was a child. I was not very excited by them.
All right.
When did they come out? Early aughts?
It was 2000s.
Yeah, so I was like 13. I was like, who gives a shit?
Yeah,
I'm going through like an existential crisis.
Sure. Well, I think that I think that this person that we were talking to was
older. They were than me.
But also I think correct in that the one that was given.
Okay. Whatever. But we're not talking. We're not here to talk about Lord of the Rings.
I guess we're not
which
fighting
sucks.
about this, which we could fight about at any time.
Which sucks shit.
I think that today we're not gonna be fighting a whole lot.
Right, because we both like the movies.
Yeah, we both really like these movies.
Right.
Should we tell the people what the movies are?
Let's do it, Nick. You go first.
My choice was the amazing crime thriller Hustlers.
Hell yeah.
Hashtag every day I'm hustling.
Mm-hmm. That was Nick's chosen.
That was my chosen hashtag to represent my team. And Mary Ellen, yours was?
Mine. We both chose these before seeing the movies, just based on what we'd heard and the hype. So this was kind of an interesting one. I was into it. I chose The Farewell.
Yeah.
And my hashtag is Nay Nay You Stay.
Which was a good hashtag as well.
Thank you. I'm very proud of it. So team hashtag Nay Nay You Stay.
Yeah, do you want to go first?
Get ready.
Yeah.
Oh, are we? I guess we should probably eventually talk about the movies we're going to talk about. So I went first last time.
Yeah, no, you probably did. No, yeah, you did.
Who edited the episode?
You did.
So I would probably be more familiar.
All right.
But you also listened to it, so you should also be familiar.
I listened. Was that an because you edited, or?
I don't know.
All right, cool. I'll start with Hustlers. Just to review the format, we are going to give each other some undisputed time to just talk about what the movies are and what we liked about them. And then we'll start kind of cross-examining each other and talk about
cross-examining.
Again, I think that this is going to be...
Where were you?
Where were you when you watched Hustlers? No, I think that this is going to be a differerent one where we're actually going to just like agree on
We're not going to... It's not going to be as...
contentious as the last one. I think it's going to be more like...
I think Nick is still hurting.
I will be honest. Hashtag Dream Team did not get the support that I was hoping for in the community.
Literally all the replies were like, "You're right, Marilyn."
Yeah. That's
wanna know why?
That's true. But
because it sucks.
You know what though? Everyone that I've talked to in
all
real
your
life,
bros.
No, not my bros.
The bros you go on
the very intelligent people I play D&D with, and the people on my team, all
fucking
like
nerds.
Inception. Yeah, well,
Who?
Sure.
Oh, wait, you don't have to actually name names. They should.
Who? Give me your first and last name.
Right. Where they live. Give me their number.
All right, so here we go. I guess we should mention as well that thank you for the folks who have actually liked and commented on.
We have one person supporting us on Patreon. We probably should.
Yeah, you have gotten, with your generosity, are going to be standing upon a heap of others in the line to the water.
The water throne. Right, we're going to start like a water monarchy based around the water rights we mean to acquire. But and you're going to be the first Patreon person. He's going to be
a duke.
Yeah, right.
Or a duchess, I guess.
Whatever you want to be, let us know.
Yeah, you come up with a title, and you DM Mary Ellen or I, and we will make sure that we give you a shout out with your title.
Luckily, we don't have to come up with a lot of titles because it is literally one person.
Well, maybe we can make this a thing, but only the first 10, so you better start.
So get in on the deal now.
I also wanted to shout out to the people who have pledged their support to the Water Lords on
That's
the
important
comments.
Too.
But I will also mention that we are Water Kings, not Water Lords.
Right.
So
but we did invite alternate names.
Yeah, I guess, and we really haven't.
But we haven't accepted it.
We haven't accepted it. We got the H2O narcs, which I actually thought more. My brain went to like a narc, like who's trying to arrest you.
Yeah, we don't want to sound like fascists.
Yeah, we don't want that. We're just
a couple of chill water kings.
All right. Anyway, let's get back
anyway.
Anyway. All right. So Hustlers, a fantastic movie about a group of exotic dancers who start
strippers.
Yeah, who start their careers kind of before the financial crash of the 2000s, and then it kind of explores how they are like trying to secure a comfortable life, even though nobody wants to pay them anymore after Wall Street kind of collapses. And I thought that this was like a fantastic movie just because the performances were great. It was fun. It was exciting. It was also just like widely accessible to like a whole group of people, I think. And also I thought that it was a movie that was incredible at talking and telling a story about one thing, but making a really compelling case about our greater systemic issues in our society, much in the way that perhaps Widows did. It like really, oh God, no, not the guns. So I just want to say for the audience that Mary Ellen is not allowed to directly attack me right now with her voice, but she did just make finger pistols at me, which is
audience. I would never do such
which I think is a form of
I would never
threatening, But perhaps we should just let that slide this time. Probably will never happen again. No, it's happening again. All right. So anyway, Hustlers also makes a really great argument against the structure of our capitalist society. It kind of is saying that these people who have made their careers in this whole industry that kind of thrives on the excesses of kind of crappy Wall Street bankers and capitalists who are kind of moralists. Yeah, moralists and are able to profit from their complete lack of humanity are then forced to like find other ways to try to extract that money when those people stop giving it so freely. And I just thought it was such a great movie. J-Lo was, and this is where I think the Oscar was snubbed, is that J-Lo was incredible in this movie. Like just sheer physical performance alone, she deserves like some recognition. And then just for the acting and everything as well, it was incredible. She was great. Definitely, I thought one of the better performances of her career, and I think probably of this Oscar season. Mary Ellen and I watched it together. We both kind of talked about it afterwards, and we just really enjoyed the movie. And so I think that it is going to be at least worth an honorable mention. I think that, again, that this is going to be a very tight competition in this episode. But over to you for the farewell.
Thank you so much, Nick, for your time.
You can put the finger pistols away. Please. I just gave you the time. You don't have to do this.
I did really enjoy Hustlers. Shouts out.
Hustlers.
Did I say it weird?
Yeah, you just kind of put an E in there. And
I feel like you always tell me when I say things weird. It makes me self-conscious.
Well, listen, last time you just admitted that you didn't edit out my ums because you wanted me to sound dumber.
I also have a really bad habit of when I think somebody says something like in a kind of weird way, I will immedially imitate it.
Yeah, no, I do that too.
And so I have no ground to stand on. It's really rude.
Yeah, and also you were telling me the other day
sometimes people think it's funny. My sister Anna gets so mad. Anna, I'm so sorry.
Well, the other day you were saying that in the workplace, someone's computer was making a lot of noises, and you started imitating that as well. So
I always do that.
You're a true artist in that you reflect the world back to itself.
I'm a little mockingbird, just making my way through the world, and sometimes people get offended by it.
Yeah, sure.
I love beeping back at computers. It's one of my favorite things.
Speaking their own language.
Exactly. Somebody else talk back. Anyway, The Farewell.
Yes.
Hustlers was fantastic.
Yep.
The Farewell, however.
Okay.
Snubbed on so many different levels. I mean, Lulu Wang wrote and directed this movie based on her own personal story. Remember when this is just my time?
I'm agreeing with you.
I know, but I was totally silent. Okay, I did dab, and I also gave you finger guns, but I was
multiple times, and you also kind of cracked up a few times during my.
You're allowed to have expressions.
And there's that whole rant you did in there that was like, we obviously will cut that out. Yeah. Okay, go.
Hello. It's me. Farewell. So it's Lulu Wang wrote and directed this film based on her own personal story with her family, her grandmother specifically. So it's very personal, very much like, coming from a very personal space. But what's phenomenal about it, I think it was so culturally interesting for me because I know almost nothing about China, I will admit. And so what was really cool for me experiencing this film was seeing how relatable and how universal, like, the kind of interpersonal dynamics in this family were. Like, I saw so much of my relationship with my own grandmother and my family members, like, reflected in what was going on, even though what's being kind of covered and talked about is something that's very specific to Chinese culture in the way that... apparently, which I didn't know that this is like a thing that even went down where kind of the basis of the story is the elderly grandmother is very sick. She has lung cancer. It's not good. And they won't actually tell her the diagnosis, which is apparently a thing that goes down in China with elderly relatives where if they're really sick or ill or dying, a lot of times that information will either be delayed or withheld entirely, I guess. I'm saying that, like, I should have, like, done more research, like, beyond the movie, but based on what the movie's saying, it's, like, because there's a scene, like, with a doctor who says, like, this is a thing here. And it's legal there. That's not allowed here in America. Not to say our healthcare system's stellar in other regards, but you couldn't necessarily get away with that. So it's really interesting because it has that angle that's not familiar to me, or I guess probably a lot of Americans or different cultures who don't have that element, but kind of the way that they navigate this really difficult situation and kind of the conflict between protecting somebody who's older, but also, like, understanding that they've lived a whole full life and, like, they have that kind of, like, that place of respect in the family and that place of, like, elevated, kind of almost like prestige, but then at the same time, they're, like, in a lesser position of power because you're taking care of them and, like, protecting them from information. And what does that mean? Like, is it disrespectful or is it respectful or what is it? And at the same time, it's paired with kind of like an almost coming of age story, where Awkwafina's character, who kind of represents Lulu Wang's experience, she is in her, like, maybe, like, 20s, I think.
She's 30.
She's 30, right. Oh, he shouts out. I am as well. And, she's trying to, parse her own life experiences and figure out professionally where she's headed, artistically where she's headed. She's not in a relationship, shouts out. So there is so much of her story I could relate to. So I loved that it offered something that was so relatable on an emotional level and on, like, a universal theme level, but at the same time offered me a new perspective on a culture I did not know a lot about, in a way I thought was really respectful and nuanced and layered, something that I may have had an immediate judgment on, but I felt like was much more nuanced than I would have anticipated. and beautifully filmed, beautifully acted. Just phenomenal shit, which makes the fact that Joker's nominated for so many things just incredible. Oh, by the way, I saw Joker recently, and oh my God, I don't even have words yet.
I think we can both agree that either of these movies were better than Joker.
Oh my God, it's insane. And every year I do this. Yeah. Every year there's a movie that's nominated for a bunch of shit. Last year was Green Book. Yeah. That's just like bonkers, bananas, fucking terrible.
You know what that means? Joker's gonna win too.
I'm sure. I'm sure it will, and I'm sure I'll be like and like freak out and punch a window.
Right.
Because I do every year. The same. It's called my Oscars window.
Okay.
They roll it on out.
I just want to say.
Don't point that marker at me.
I'm pointing
it's
in
really
a threatening way. Okay. So I think I want to say first of all that both of these movies, I think we should get right off the bat, both of them plus 10.
Better than Joker.
Better than Joker, sure. But I think we should also then give it another plus 10 because these movies are like telling diverse stories in that like.
I don't like that use of the word diverse.
Well, I'm not saying it in like a racial way.
No. I know, but like diverse. When you use the word diverse, it means like a variety of experiences.
Sure.
But what you mean is it's representing specific experiences that have not been told.
Right. Yeah, I guess.
I'm not saying it's bad to use that word. I just like to be very specific in my use of that word.
I think that you're right. That like both of these movies tell stories about people that are often like not in the spotlight in
American media,
American culture. Yeah, like,
right.
You have kind of a Chinese narrative, and on the one hand, where like even some of the stories,
but it's very specific, like Chinese American immigrant narrative too.
I would disagree a little bit. I think that because a lot of what it is like we are invited to view a Chinese narrative through someone that is accessible to us, who is like has the American culture as well, and so can be a someone in the movie that we can place ourselves upon.
An Ariadne, if you will. Yeah,
exactly. Exactly. And we always know that an Ariadne is needed in the movie and make movies better. So no, I think that like Billy in the movie is just really inviting us to witness another culture's story.
When you said Billy, I just remember the girl looked like Billie Eilish. Anyway,
shouts out to Billie Eilish.
I met a girl and said like, "You look like somebody. You look like Billie Eilish," and she was like excited about it.
I never had seen it before,
really
but she had green hair.
Yeah,
you know, like I could.
Luckily, she was like she liked Billie Eilish a lot.
Okay,
so
it was a compliment.
So she was excited about it.
Yeah, shouts out. Anyway,
that was drunk Mary Ellen. She just likes to tell people facts about themselves.
Had like a whole thing last night.
Yeah. Boy, shouts out.
But then I think on the other side, Hustlers, we're seeing and kind of experiencing a story that as a culture we look down upon and kind of suppress the narratives of people in sex work and also in like lower income brackets that we like think are disgraceful, or like because like being a stripper is not something to be like lauded or appreciated, and so we ignore their
right. It's
stories.
Like the butt of jokes.
Yeah,
basically.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so by also seeing that and driving, I think a lot of like really rich cultural meaning from it, we are also seeing like a whole...
and the racial element of it being, you know, there's a Latina woman, it's an Asian American woman, and it's a Black woman who are like part of our main crew. So I think that also counts in that level. Nick is adding the points now to the whiteboard. Yeah, I mean, like we said, it's going to be a much more peaceful episode this time because we both really enjoyed both these films. I do think, having seen them both, that The Farewell is better. Okay, so...
How do you want to put the second one?
What are you giving us? Plus 10.
10 for Better Than Joker.
So both Nick is allotting 10 points to each for Better Than Joker.
And then plus 10 for how did you want to put the story?
I would say, I don't want to say it in like a annoying ass, really white way.
Well, I mean, you are. So
I mean, no matter, I'm an annoying ass white woman, so whatever I say, unfortunately. I guess I would say gives platform to less represented voices.
What about represented voices?
You just don't want to write.
I don't want to write all that out.
I understand.
A better, shorter way to say that.
Just put representation ! Sure. I'm glad I sold you on that. And the people will know what we mean just by this discussion that we've had.
And if you don't know what we mean, listen to the goddamn podcast.
Yeah. Idiots.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I called you idiots.
Yeah, that was horrible of her. I'm on your side. Okay,
on
so
your
here we
side,
go.
audience.
This is the thing that I'm going to kind of disagree with you on the farewell.
You spelled representation wrong.
Well, you know what? Why don't you go correct it, and I'll talk to the audience for a second.
Okay.
Go correct it. Yeah, okay. Thank God she's gone. Now it's just you and I. We can have a real talk about why I think Hustlers should be in closer contention than The Farewell than Mary Ellen thinks. I think that The Farewell was a very beautiful personal story, but I think that Hustlers actually addresses kind of greater issues and systemic problems within society that I think is more meaningful to address than an emotional story. I think both of them do have emotional personal stories as well, but I think that they're kind of inverses of each other, where Hustlers gives a greater platform to discuss the greater ills of our time. The Farewell really focuses in on the personal story, and like the societal ills or whatever kind of falls by the wayside, and there's not really much of that to really dig your teeth into. Oh God, she's back. Okay.
I disagree. I think a really interesting thing that The Farewell does throughout the film is very kind of quietly and subtly highlight like the working class. Did you notice that? So like during the whole wedding, like you see like just the catering staff like hanging out and like kind of quietly chilling and stuff, which I thought was really cool. And then there's that moment where Billy makes eye contact with, I think, the sex worker in the hotel. So it's all the guys playing poker and like young dressed up women next to them. So I think they're like hired for the evening. Yeah. And they like make eye contact and have that like really intense moment where they just like see each other.
Yeah.
So there's I know it doesn't get as explicit in it, but I think it's so interesting that it weaves in that theme, and also like Billy's anxiety about what she, like that whole discussion between, the scene in The Farewell, the discussion between
the movie that we've been talking about.
Farewell. I'm so sorry. I'm so okay.
Wait, before we move on though, there's something that you were talking about with the highlighting the working class. I think that this movie actually, in a way, kind of is not a working class story. Like I think
there is
family,
an economic angle. I know there's wealth there.
There's a lot of wealth, but also like the grandmother. I was looking at some of the characters as I was watching it actually today. I was kind of pulling up who are these characters? And like at the wedding, some of the guests that you kind of get to talk to and stuff, who's like, oh, I love your grandmother and all that kind of stuff. They're all generals within the Communist Party. Yeah. And she's like an upper...
She's friends with them.
Yeah, she's like upper echelon Communist Party person, which is, I think, one of the reasons why she is kind of... I mean, she throws together this like huge banquet and like
but it's not like...
just has that money.
It's not like ritzy.
Sure. I mean, have you seen the costs of weddings?
Have you seen that wedding and fucking...
She wanted to give them all lobsters. And then she was upset that she got crabs.
Right.
I mean, I think.
Do you think that's representative of anything?
I'm saying that means that she has a certain amount of wealth that she's able to throw away.
Did you see fucking Crazy Rich Asians? That wedding?
Yeah.
With the fucking water coming in?
Mary Ellen, I want you to listen to yourself as you say the title of that movie.
I know, but that's what I'm saying.
Rich
I'm saying
Asian.
She's not crazy rich.
Okay.
Those were Crazy Rich Asians.
Yeah, but that's like a different class altogether. That's like
I know,
billionaire
that's what
class.
she's not in their class.
No, what are you saying right now? Are you saying that there's only two classes, billionaires and
that's exactly what I'm
poor?
fucking saying.
No, but I do think that has interesting things about like class in there, but I think that what the filmmaker is using those moments for is to show an alienation effect between the American culture that we are used to and that Billy is used to, and then where she is kind of found herself.
Can I talk about the thing that you interrupted me about?
Yeah, continue on.
That scene in The Farewell.
Yeah.
Where Billy's mom and I couldn't figure out how this woman was related. Is it
who?
Bao's mom?
Bao's mom is like her aunt.
Is she?
Yeah.
But whose parents? Because they said that she was the grandfather's niece.
So cousin.
Okay. But she said you only have one cousin.
Yeah, but Yeah.
So anyway, I don't know exactly how she was related. I was just like trying to figure it out. But anyway, she has
Is it cousin once removed then?
Maybe.
It's like
maybe.
Your grandfather's niece.
Right.
Which means that it's his brother's daughter, so they would be cousins on. So it would be her parents' cousin, so it's a cousin once removed.
Okay. Okay. But she had a fight with Billy's mom, and they were talking about...
That was such a weird scene.
It was
liked
really
it.
cool.
Yeah, I liked it, but I was like, ooh, it made my heart kind of hurt.
Yeah, Nick doesn't like tension because he like feels it.
I sort of was like biting a rag, being like...
Like you were getting surgery in the Civil War.
Yeah, I had a bottle of whiskey to pour over myself. That was an intense scene.
So, but I think that like economic angle was really interesting because they talked about, it was very much an, they're talking about loyalty to like being a Chinese person,
right?
And like what it means to then move to America.
But I think that they're
for like better opportunities and that sort of thing. And then they were talking about Billy being an artist,
sure,
and if that was like a meaningful pursuit or like a worthwhile pursuit.
Yeah.
So I thought like I know they have enough money where that's even an option.
Right.
But I just thought it was really interesting that that I think there was an economic angle to that discussion.
Yeah, I think
don't think
economic
it was the whole
angle,
thing.
but I think that the economic angle was to further the cultural divide between those people.
Yeah.
So I think that it comes from a cultural place rather than a class struggle place, which isn't saying that The Farewell didn't talk about important things and like,
sure.
You know, but I think that Hustlers has a greater...
More class.
Yeah, it's like more about the class struggle and like how people have to deal with the shit that puts upon
and
them.
how deeply stratified like economic classes in America are.
Yeah, so I think that whereas The Farewell might be a different politician that we can figure it out, I think that Hustlers is more the Bernie Sanders of this presidential field. Everything comes down to economic
fact that I think
class.
Bernie Sanders is always like stripping.
Yeah. I mean, who hasn't seen that wedding video of him dancing
and
then slowly taking it all off?
Right.
And him being like, it's fine, it's okay.
Why would he
Oh my
say
God,
that?
Bernie Sanders, is that you?
Why would he
oh my
say
God,
that
oh
while
my
he's
God.
stripping?
Last week, Michael Caine came. We thank God that he's feeling okay.
It's Bernie walking in the room.
Oh, that was incredible. Bernie. He's taken out a lozenge and he is now just sitting down with. He's shaking his head. I think he's gonna be silent for a little while.
He's gonna listen.
Yeah, he'll probably listen. Maybe he'll speak
He'll
up if he
weigh
has
in.
something to think.
He has something to think. He always has something to think. He's thinking about solutions for America.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess you're right. But anyway, so let's get back to our conversation. So I think that...
But also Billy's whole thing, I mean, there's money anxiety there. Like that conversation she has with her father, which I've had with my father like 1,000 times, where he's like, how are you doing on money? And she's like, I'm fine. He's like, how could you afford to come here? I'm fine. That whole thing.
Here's another thing, though, is that I think that was a very... Like, if you talk about that conversation she has with her arguably Americanized father.
Right.
And then her conversation that she has with her grandmother at the end, where she's given money, like it is again there to show a cultural difference. Like if you think about it,
it could just be a relationship difference.
Yeah.
Because like if my grandmother gives me money, it would be rude for me to be like, no.
Sure,
grandma.
but even think about how the grandmother says to use it. She says, "Don't use it on rent. Don't use it on anything important like that. Use it on something."
But that's also like a grandma thing. So it's like I don't know enough. I feel like to make that call.
Yeah, sure. Anyway, yeah. So I think that
I don't know enough about birds to just be, was it like the bird law thing?
This is the thing.
There are birds in this.
I want to place a request to the audience.
What do the birds
what
mean?
do you think that the birds throughout The Farewell mean? Because I think that they're there to represent anxiety and maybe like something ill meaning towards the family, but she kind of exorcises the birds from the tree when she goes in America and doing what her grandmother had taught her to kind of cleanse her body and spirit.
Yeah.
So that was my read on it.
I think the birds that show up in her room are different than the end, because I think the end is like she sent it out.
Yeah.
And like it was like a waveform.
Sure.
But I think the little bird that shows up in her room is something different.
But it happens twice, and both times it's when she's finding out bad news.
Yeah. That could be because aren't there like associations with birds like crows, and that's like they represent things and that sort of.
Yeah, maybe it's a cultural thing that like in China.
You want to know what I think it is? I think the bird was cute, and Lulu Wang was like, "This is a cute bird. Let's just put it in the shot."
And she's like, "I love birds, and birds kept getting into my house."
Right.
It's just an
I
autobiographical
love birds.
thought.
Right.
Fact.
I just wanted more birds.
Sure.
Honestly, birds are great.
Yeah, but you know what?
Can
this
I do
movie
plus
has?
5 for birds?
only if you give Hustlers +5 for
Mr.
Bruce.
Hustlers needs +10 for Mr.
Mr.
Bruce. I love Mr.
is
Bruce.
the greatest. So, not since Olivia have I been so moved by a dog's performance. Mr. Bruce was incredible, impeccably dressed, and I think
the emotion.
Yeah, I mean, I think Mr. Bruce probably should have like an acting studio in New York. Teaching other people and dogs how to express themselves so fully on screen. I would go. I know. Oh, and also, I guess we're getting another +5 from the farewell for the brief dog singing scene, which was also incredible. But really,
it was like another little Chihuahua thingy.
Yeah,
Chihuahuas kind of freak me out, like
Sure.
in person, because I feel like I will break them if I look at them weird,
Right.
and they kind of like shake with a weird fury.
Fun fact about the farewell:
Yeah,
the grandmother's sister in the movie is played by the real grandmother's sister.
that's so cool.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
Aww,
Yeah,
that's
Nene.
lovely. She did
little
great.
Nene. Yeah, I was like, wow. When she had that scene about like finally being able to travel with her husband, who she hasn't been with for like 5 years or whatever.
That whole element, like
moving.
the caregiver like role, and that I was like, wow.
Yeah. I'm gonna give the farewell some love. I'm gonna give it a +10 because I sobbed at the end. It was very personally touching. Like I really like, oh man, there's the whole goodbye scene where they're kind of like hurrying everyone off to the airport, and there's like 2 layers there where the grandmother is just sad because her family isn't able to visit very often because she's in China and they're in like Japan and America. But then there's also the other level of like the family thinking that she's gonna die like,
yeah,
any minute, and this is the last time they ever see her,
yeah.
but they can't give like a full life like farewell. It's just it was so moving.
The farewell.
Yeah, it was the farewell of the title.
But guys, spoiler alert: the grandma fucking lived.
Yeah, Nene is still Nene.
Nene, you stay.
Yeah, she's doing the
on
Nene.
this mortal coil with us.
All right, so
forever. Please, I'll tell you the scene that really touched me, and really like reminded me of like my own life experiences. It's the scene where the grandma's like giving her the money and everything. And that's the first. So we learn at the beginning of the film, Billy gets news that the fellowship she's applied for,
she does not get in.
She does not get.
Yeah.
And she won't tell her parents that she knows, and she won't tell her other family members. But the first person she decides to confide in is her grandmother. Yeah. Which she probably does because she thinks this is the last time she'll talk to her. And so she's trying to like honestly represent where she's at, which is kind of like lost. Like she's in a place in her life where, you know, she's really trying and putting in an effort into something she loves, but doesn't have a partner, doesn't have kind of like a clear direct goal, is broke as shit, struggling to pay rent, etc. And so she tells her grandmother this, that she didn't get the fellowship and is like really doubting herself. And the grandmother basically like expresses to her that she still believes in her and that she loves her regardless of her achievements, and has faith in her that she's going to do something great, but is also like, where, like, I love you where you're at right now. Yeah. However messy and kind of lost that is. And for me, like, that's the role. I have a grandmother who I'm very close with. Trisha, shouts out. And that's the role she's played in my life. Like, there's a connection to family members where you can be at incredibly low points and be like, I have nothing to like show for myself, and just be really hard on yourself. And my grandmother has played that role where she's like, I see you exactly as you are in this like very genuine moment, and still love you without, I'm unconditionally.
Yeah. I also found that when she was saying like, you like don't just keep crashing into the wall and like basically beating yourself up about like something that you have failed at, essentially. Yeah. But she was like, I've walked the path of life enough to know that like it's not about those bits. It's about just like
it's not what you do, it's how you live it.
Yeah. It's like how you go about living. And I thought that like as somebody who is in a similar spot to Billy in the movie.
Same.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah.
High five! Hell yeah,
bro! I took meaning from that, and like since like my grandmother passed away a few years ago, so I haven't had this kind of connection like for a while. But like hearing that, like you said, like I felt it felt very true to like what that role in your.
I can't believe you just tapped
You
your.
just gave me a really dirty look because I bumped the pop filter.
He physically just like punched his microphone.
I didn't mean to do that. Okay, so I.
Sorry, talk about your grandmother.
Yeah, my dead grandmother. You just interrupted my story about. No, I just felt like it felt very truthful. And I think that I'm going to give another +5 to The Farewell for just being like really, it felt true. Like the whole way through, like I didn't feel like I was seeing an idea of something. It felt like, oh, this is a real relationship, and maybe it's because it is, but it just felt, I didn't doubt a second of it the whole way through. I was just very much.
When I love movies that like, it's an interesting story in and of itself because it's like fucking wild, like keeping the fact that somebody's dying secret from them.
Yeah.
But I love movies that manage to just capture something that feels so real like that, and it's like a very simple thing, like a conversation between a 30-year-old woman and her grandmother who she loves and is close with, and there's something like so authentic and like important about that. Like I love small moments done really well, and I think The Farewell has so many of those. Yep,
I agree, and I think that Hustlers maybe is again like the inverse of that none of it feels quite real or true, but it uses that to kind of punch you in the gut over and over again.
Let's talk more about Hustlers.
Yeah. Okay, so let's start. Where should we start with the Hustlers?
What?
With the hustle.
If you had to like pick a scene from Hustlers where you're like, yeah. Or like elements of the movie.
I'll give you a scene. It's not a fun scene.
Don't be so aggressive. I'll give you a scene. You remember?
You pointed finger pistols at me. 2 of them right now. Okay, so I think oh no, that's a arm bazooka. What was that? Okay, so in Hustlers, I think that one of my favorite scenes is also one of the ones that grossed me out the most, which was when, after the financial crash, she goes back to the strip club, trying to kind of regain some of this like glory and like the money that she was able
especially.
to make.
Yeah, because she's broke.
She's broke. She doesn't have any support system, and
her
she has
dude
a kid.
is left. Yeah,
and so she goes back with like higher stakes and finds like that everything has gone essentially, and she also has to then, so like she goes back in, and the like mother of the club, the bartender, was like, yeah, all these strippers are just giving blowjobs for like $300 in the back room essentially. And so she's dancing in the back room for this like creepy Wall Street guy, and he like puts what you think is $300 down on the couch, and then it's like she basically doesn't want to and then has to perform like a blowjob. But then it turns out he only gave her $60.
Yeah.
And she's like crying about it to the reporter. And I thought that was such a like an indicative, like there's so many layers in there. Like there's the personal tragedy of that. There's like the dignity that she has like lost in that moment.
Because for her it was like the line she didn't want to cross.
Yeah.
But she made herself in a way that felt demeaning to her.
Right. But even though she chose to cross the line for what she thought was like
money.
A fair.
She had to.
A fair price money kind of thing.
But it's not. Yeah. Well, I don't know.
I use finger quotes there. It doesn't really come across in a podcast, but she like is willing to do it for a certain amount, and then she finds out that she's been cheated essentially, and that this man, and like again, like you go up into like the greater idea of it. It's like these people who have screwed over the system and have like kind of come out unscathed while everyone else is suffering and have nothing, are still like cheating the people that they can cheat to kind of live this kind of above existence, and like is like
completely immoral.
Yeah, and it's just like, and they're impugned to punishment. Like there's nothing she could do about it.
Right.
And it's just like, it just makes your stomach turn.
Yeah.
In like a really frustrated way.
I was literally watching it next to you, and you were like, oh, like Nick was ready to get it back.
Yeah, but also like, it's just because I think that this movie taps into something that even like The Big Short didn't, which is like, I think that these movies are in the same genre of like biopics,
the
in
Wall
a way.
Street crash genre,
where they talk about like a specific moment in time, but from The Big Short you get like from the angle of the Wall Street people, and it still kind of, it makes them out to be bad people, but people who have like are idiots and have fallen into the system and then are like struggling to try to pull everyone back out of it, and only like a few smart ones were able to see it coming.
Christian Bale.
Yeah, but then it kind of makes them out to be morally neutral or even like understanding of the hardships that they're causing. But in this movie, it really takes the other view where it's like these people are just users,
pieces of shit.
They just use people, and and it taps into that frustration that nobody ever got put in prison. Like one person got put in prison for the whole crisis or whatever.
It's fucking
and
ridiculous.
So it's ridiculous, and it taps into that just like
thanks
primal,
Obama
to that primal rage that I
of just like injustice.
Of injustice. And so and it does it in a very fun way. So I like that scene really like kind of hit me. Like do you have a scene that you remember of being like nah, or just like one that you enjoyed maybe?
So I think for me, the thing I really like about Hustlers, so like a movie like The Big Short, it's so, I felt like it was kind of like limited by the fact that it was much more about ideas and concepts than it was about people.
Yeah.
Like I know it was meant to be a narrative based on real people, but like it didn't feel grounded enough for me. The emotional underpinning to Hustlers that I think makes it ultimately a better movie is it's not just about, these structural inequalities, which are fucked up and horrible. And what you have to is like highly educated men who make a lot of money doing shitty, horrible, destructive things up against uneducated women. It sounds like a lot of them didn't finish high school, based on different lines in the movie, or if they did, never went to college. Who come from backgrounds where, financially their opportunities are very limited. Yeah. They're immigrants or children of immigrants. They're, the main character, her mother abandoned her, they're products of trauma. So they have all these added limitations and they're just trying to, survive and make it in the world. And so there's a gender element, a race element, a class element. And on top of all of that, there's these really interesting interpersonal relationships. Oh, wait, Nick is distracting me right now because he's adding things to the board without my permission. A+ grandmas to the farewell.
And to
What do you mean multiple grandmas?
Yeah, because in
Hustlers, like grandmas throughout the world?
No, A+ grandmas was in both movies.
Oh, her grandmother. What's the main character's name again? I'm sorry, I forgot.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I saw it like a week ago and I saw Farewell this morning. So it's a little less fresh in my mind. But, like, there's also what you were kind of saying about interpersonal relationships. Like
Destiny.
Destiny
is the main character.
Yeah, so Destiny.
Played by Constance Wu.
Yes. Destiny is, like you're shown her, like, kind of moral compass, which I think is really important for setting up the rest of the movie. In the first, 15 minutes where she comes back from a night of stripping and, gives her grandmother the money that she made.
Yeah.
And so, you're able, because her grandma's, trying not to bother her and has, sold her prized necklace so that she can, not bother her granddaughter. And it's just, it is just heartwarming from the moment. But then, later on, you get the fun side of her grandmother as well.
Yeah, that was a great character, the grandmother.
Yeah, the grandmother was great.
So what I was saying was, so you have all these elements of, the structural horse shit, that's going on. It's fuck all of that. But on another level, I think the emotional core comes so much from, it's a very specific kind of, women energy.
Yeah.
Where it's these relationships. I will admit I've never worked in sex work. I've never been in the strip clubs or anything like that. But I could relate to I've had relationships and friendships with other women that's gets on that deep of a level where it feels like you're taking care of each other and showing each other things and telling each other to watch out for stuff. And it's that there was such a warmth to that. Even that first scene, I think I audibly was "Aw," where J-Lo
gives her part of the coat.
Yeah, and warms her up, her little chinchilla fur coat, and warms her up and literally takes her in
under her wing. Yeah.
Right. And so there's and obviously those relationships get really complex because J-Lo's trying to hustle and she has kind of an antagonistic relationship with the world where she is able to kind of shut out her conscience, more effectively. In some of the stuff she does.
Would you agree that Hustlers deserves 5 points for big women energy?
Big women energy? Oh, I thought you meant big women. I'm well, Lizzo's there.
No, just there's a lot of women energy.
Yeah. Big women. I don't know if Wait, fine. Big women energy.
I'll just do women energy.
Just all women. Big women, small women, they're all there. Yeah, and so there was like a real beauty to that. And like, obviously it's like, it's not like.
+5, going back to the Lizzo.
Yeah.
+5 for Nicki and Lizzo. No, not Nicki.
Cardi.
Yeah, Cardi and Lizzo.
Cardi's like monologue is fucking phenomenal.
I think that it deserves at least 5 for
Yeah,
monologue.
no, you're right. Yeah. But yeah, absolutely. But so and obviously it's not like women are necessarily like beautiful, perfect angels. Like obviously they fuck each other over and they fuck up and they're not always good to each other. But that is also like part of friendships and, you know, especially friendships when you're both dealing with external bullshit that, you know, if in a perfect world, you know, you have that scene where they're all at Christmas and they're all giving each other expensive gifts and like showing affection for each other. And that's like, if they had all the resources they needed, they wouldn't have to be as cutthroat, you know? So there's a lot of like beauty, you know, in a very like, it's weird to say pure about like a stripper movie, but there was a lot of like purity where I'm like, yeah, like, you know, they're, you know, showing her the ropes and stuff. It's nice.
It's also really interesting in that the strip club is sort of a socialist environment. Where when they, like, especially at the beginning when everything is going well, like, all these people are taking care of each other.
Well, when the money's good.
Yeah, when the money's good, everyone is taking care of each other and making sure that everyone is, like, okay and gets enough money. And,
but
like,
from what I've heard about...
share supplies and all that kind of stuff.
What I've heard about, like, working at strip clubs, though, it does get cliquey.
Sure.
And, like, there is that, like, if you find somebody who is, like, it will stick up for you, that's, like, it's like any workplace. It's, like, you'll find your people.
Yeah. But I think that, like, that might be true in the real world, but I think that this movie was showing a difference between the ruthless capitalism of the clientele.
You're not going to find that energy in fucking, you know, whatever, and then Wall Street.
Yeah, so you have, like, the ruthless clientele, like capitalists, and then you have a more socialist environment that people are actually making meaningful relationships and thriving in. And I think that was like a really interesting dynamic there.
Well, it's still, I mean, it's still capitalist.
Yeah,
because
sure.
they're, right.
Because it's all
but it's, I mean, what it is, it's just like, it's showing an alternative to that, that brutality and that like sadism and that like dog eat dog bullshit.
Yeah.
It's like we can actually foster these loving relationships in this. Which in a world that's like like they showed like even when things were good, occasionally people would be just fucking terrible. Like when they were throwing food at them, when they were dancing and stuff like that. Like it can be a degrading world, and so they have to foster these relationships, you know, to like take care of one another.
Yeah. And like I think there's like a real feminist angle on this movie as well.
Absolutely.
Because like multiple times, like one of the big things that like continues to occur between J-Lo and Destiny is like Destiny being like, I don't want to have to rely on anyone. I just want to be able to take care of myself.
Right. Which is so fucking real.
Yeah.
Like that feeling of like I've had that from like a different angle and like in kind of like an ability angle and like a wellness illness angle, but from like a class angle of literally being like I have only known depending on unreliable people and a gendered class angle,
and the unreliable people in this movie are men. Yeah.
Right, which
like
it reminded me of Widows in a lot of ways. Like all of those women were kind of relying on unreliable men.
And then it's also like even the kids are young daughters, and so it's like, it was sort of like an intergenerational thing there, and like
absolutely
the housekeeper
with the grandmother and the
everything. So I thought that was really cool, and it's also like as a man, like I don't have access often to that sort of like. I don't have that glimpse into that life because...
You're not, like, looking at people's windows to see,
like,
women being
like,
friends.
wow, these women look like they're great friends.
I love women friendship.
As they pull the shades in front of me.
They're like, that goddamn guy is in the bushes again.
Back. Yeah, no, I don't get to do that anymore.
Right, because of the restraining orders,
Yep. Woof. But yeah, so
what a world, Nick,
yeah,
you know?
This I think is also... doing a service as well because it provides because I think that the premise of this movie probably attracted a lot of people into the theater that are not the people who would go to a movie that billed itself like that. Like I don't think that the people that went to see Hustlers are the same people that went to see Widows.
Yeah,
even
absolutely.
though they have similar things that they're trying to say.
Yeah.
And I think so in a way that maybe makes it more effective, even if it's on a subconscious level, because it's providing.
It's like they're serving you your vegetables.
Yeah, exactly. It's like they're covering those vegetables and
sexy women.
Sexy women. All right,
that's how I like my vegetables. I will say, like, if we're talking about like feminism too, like that scene where Destiny is watching J-Lo's character.
Yeah.
Whose name I also forget. Because I was just like the whole time, I'm like, there's
J-Lo. No, that's from Widows.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I'll look it up while you keep talking.
Where she's watching J-Lo's character dance for the first time. It is so fucking cool because it's like very explicit. So this is directed by, both these films, by the way, are directed by women. So we're definitely going to give both points for that.
Yeah, we are.
Because, women aren't usually allowed cameras. So it's just nice that somehow they got around the laws, around that. But it's so cool to see. It's literally like you see like the male gaze happening, but what Constance is seeing is like fucking art and athleticism. She's like, holy shit, this woman is like owning the room.
Yeah.
She's fucking killing it. And like she's admiring her from that angle. And we see it through her eyes. And it's so fucking cool. And like and the performance is like great. And it's to that Fiona Apple song. Mm-hmm. And it's just fucking cool. It's like such a moment. And it's so different from like how like men who are attracted to women would be watching.
Yeah, no, I have something to say about that, but the name is Ramona for J-Lo's character. But I that kind of clicked with something in my head where I realized that every time you see Ramona and Destiny together and they're stripping for men and they're kind of like tag teaming it so that they can get more money and everything.
Yeah.
Whenever you do that, or whenever the director shows that, they're always focusing, the middle of the frame is always on their eyes.
Yeah.
So like you never see any of like the nudity. It's more about watching them perform and look at these men.
They're still the center. Like their experience is what's being centered.
Yeah, and it's also like they, instead of them like being very male gazy and them having
it's still sexy.
Yeah. Oh, totally. It was like plus 5 for sexy, but also like if you just lowered the frame so that you like include that, you take like status away from them, I think.
Yeah.
And in this way, you are giving them like they literally, all the men are shot from above and they are shot dead center of frame.
Right, because they are our primary characters.
Yeah, they're primary characters and they have the power in these situations. And I think that even when you have that scene I talked about earlier, where the guy like cheats her into a blowjob, the camera is angled down at her,
and it's about about her experience, like of that moment,
and it's like a fall of power and status. And I feel it's just very smart filmmaking. I thought it was really well done. There's also a really great shot where they're taking these men who they've drugged. Oh yeah, the movie's about them drugging men and like stripping all the money out of them.
Right, because eventually, they're not giving money as freely, and so they go out to. At first, they're just trying to recruit guys to come back to the club.
Right.
But then it becomes, hey, let's recruit them and also
just take all their money.
Just knock them the fuck out and like ring up their cards, which is cool and good. And it's praxis.
And like
frankly, we should all be doing it.
I also thought it was really interesting when okay, let me tell there's so many things to talk about.
Yeah.
But the shot where
they're kind of dabbing right now.
Where they take the men, and the camera follows them out of the bar into the car, through the car, and into the club.
Right.
It's just a really great one shot that I loved.
It was cool.
But what I was gonna say as well was that I thought that it was interesting how the morality is also like in the movie narratively, like it acts as karma. So like when they are doing what feels righteous and like right to like strip the money out of these men who don't even really care for it, because many of them come back for another experience. Essentially, you find out later when the police are talking about it.
Right.
But like when they do this to them, it's like karmically feels okay and they are not punished for it. But then when Ramona begins to like set her sights
too far.
Yeah, she goes too far and starts preying upon people who have also been disadvantaged. It's like karmically they become the people who are essentially the same as these Wall Street people who are just using people and stripping the money out of the ones who don't have it to give. And it's like very
I'm sure financially the dude was like Well, yeah, I mean, like, because it was what, like, bankrupt, or I forgot.
He was gonna lose his job. He
right.
was like,
oh, yeah.
He was like
yeah.
losing his kids, and like his wife died, and like he was like had very down on his luck.
Right.
And almost like a comical way of like every single part of his life was fucked.
Yeah.
But like. And maybe it was a little heavy-handed there because it was like, this is the person that's going to bring down the operation.
Sad. Right. Because, and I don't think, obviously it's illegal, but I don't think they actually, like, I don't think the movie comes down hard on them for what they do up to that.
Yeah, really.
Which I think is, and even like, so Julia Stiles plays the reporter, because this is based on an actual,
story.
An actual story, an investigative report. So Julia Stiles plays a reporter, and she even is like, you know what, these guys are fucking assholes.
Yeah, we hate them.
But it's like obviously like, I don't know. It depends on your politics as far as you want to go with how you treat capitalists.
Yeah, and it also like
some people think these dudes got off very easy, just getting drugged and robbed.
Yeah.
But
then also
fuck them. But
the movie kind of like slaps the viewer for starting to drift away from the main character too.
Yeah.
Because you're like, ooh, they are drugging people, and they're taking them, and they're just like taking all their money, like, because it like has those string of shots
and
of
the dudes
them.
are literally like
they are.
Out.
They're
and it's
hilarious.
Funny. It's played for comedy.
Yeah, and they're like ordering wings and stuff, and they're like
eating on their like prone bodies.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like $5,000 they're swiping through.
I will say, Keke Palmer, who plays Mercedes, is very funny.
She's very funny.
She's the girl from the "I'm sorry to this man" meme.
Her running away from the hospital is a very funny scene. But so I think that the movie does kind of like course correct you, because you're like, oh, these people are kind of garbage for doing this. And then the reporter like says that they're like, you are drugging these men, and I'm not judging. And then she's like, where are you from? And she's like, oh, my parents were like a psychiatrist and a doctor or whatever.
And she went to Brown.
So and now she's an investigative journalist for the New York Times or whatever.
Yeah.
And so it's like it like says, okay, like, viewer, you are like of a certain class yourself, probably.
Right. You are viewing this through your own class experience.
Yeah, and it reminds you to like keep track of that. And I think again it's like
and
smart.
I really enjoy like the framing of it, because you're seeing the story, but you're seeing that Destiny is telling the story. And she gets alternatively like defensive, but then will tell you more, but then is like questioning the reporter's motives. And so it's not only her relationship to the reporter, it's her relationship to the audience.
Yeah.
Which is really, it's a great way of keeping her centered. Like, it's like when you start to form your own judgments, this actual woman is here to be like, hey, fucko.
Yeah.
Like, whatever you're thinking right now, you have to understand where I come from and what I've fucking dealt with.
It forces you to contextualize.
Yeah, which I think is so smart.
Yeah. And I think that there's also a really interesting, like, I don't know if this is me placing meaning that the filmmaker didn't mean to.
Yeah.
But it also kind of like, all of the men are portrayed as sort of like hapless and stupid, essentially, which is great. But then you have the moment where Destiny flips on her friends, and she kind of goes along with the men, and then ends up what looks to be better off than her friends. Like, she, when she's being interviewed, has like these gold bracelets and like a very like she's like very well dressed, and she's doing it in her house. Yeah. And when we see Ramona again, she's like working back in retail and all that kind of stuff, even because she didn't flip on her friends.
Right.
And so it's sort of like, for me, it was also sort of like a moment of like, oh, the patriarchy still sort of like
absolutely
kicks you in the groin sometimes. Right. And like
loyalty to that system will pay.
You're
right.
She's gonna be like a pharmacist and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
And
which is ironic.
Yeah, which is ironic. And
that scene with them trying out the different recipes,
was pretty great.
So funny.
This movie is funny as fuck. I think. Actually, like, can I get 5 points for comedy?
Yeah.
Okay.
And you then get 5 points for comedy. Don't worry, I'll still add more to the farewell.
Okay, great.
We'll litigate this. It's very, and I think it takes a really smart, like, moral perspective throughout, and lets you know that with where it's inserting the comedy, it wants you to laugh at like the assholes.
Yeah.
So.
And it really, and it's like sort of like it's like you gave a robot a task to write a film that follows like what's the law where you don't have two women talking to men?
Oh, Bechdel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you're like, okay, robot, write a Bechdel like A+ film, and it like spits out Hustlers.
My favorite are when people take like the most bizarre like media and are like, this passes the Bechdel test, which is like you can find fucking it's not the be all end all of like, is this a feminist film or not, but it is it's a helpful framework, but it shouldn't be.
But it was just like, I just thought it was funny that literally every time you see a man, he's either like kind of
passed out,
passed out. Totally like an asshole or morally bankrupt, or just like stupid and hapless in a sad sack. and it's like very,
because it's not about them. It's like,
really
this is not your movie. I'd be interested to see if there was like angry men. Who were like, this is insulting.
I bet there was. But also like, again, I think this movie's very smart because it's like, this is a movie about strippers, guys. Like, you don't have to be angry because it's about strippers.
Yeah, like, look at the boobs, guys. Calm down.
Yeah, it's like, it's so funny because every time there is like nudity, it's so pushed to the corner of the frame that's like not.
There's one girl just like tits out right now in the scene, but it's like not focused.
Yeah, and she's like talking, and she's like, I have to like start doing this thing because I have to pick up my kid from daycare or whatever. It's just like
so like humanizing.
Yeah. It's like there are probably people who are like, oh fuck yeah, like J-Lo's so hot in this, and I got to see some tits and all that kind of stuff. Some tits. But it's like, it really just, I think, even subconsciously puts a data point in their soul that they're gonna it's gonna start affecting some of them.
That's one of my. Have you ever seen the movie Black Swan?
Yeah.
It was marketed as like, like Natalie Portman and Mila Kunis kiss. There's this sex scene, blah, blah. And then you see it, and it's like, fuck men, we horrify you. And like, it's so good.
It's like, both like, fuck men, and then like, our struggle for greatness will lead us to destruction or whatever.
That's a fantastic movie.
It really is. I love that movie.
What was I talking about? Oh, I want to also say, when I was talking about like female friendship and like the purity and that and stuff, I teared up at that scene where they're talking about, like, so after the stories come out, Destiny calls Julia Stiles, who I sure has a character. Her name isn't Julia, but it doesn't matter. She calls Julia Stiles, and she wants to know, she knows that she talked to Ramona, and she wants to know what Ramona said about her because she deeply cares, and they haven't talked. And Julia Stiles tells her an anecdote where, and we like see this play out. And Ramona's in the interview with Julia Stiles and shows her a photo of Destiny that she keeps in her wallet from when she was a child. And she has a photo of herself as a kid and a photo of Destiny, and she like reflects on Destiny being a kid and says like, if I'd known her then, maybe things would have turned out differently for us. Yeah. And that, I'm like getting emotional talking about it because it's so like, I've had friendships like that where it's like, when you know a person and like when you love them, it's not just like who they are then that you love. It's like you love them and like feel like you know them and want to know them at every stage of their life. And like that thing of like, she sees Destiny and she sees like the little girl that she was and like loves her and wants to protect that little girl.
And she was enraged about the mom who like left her there.
Yeah. And it's like, how could you...
Actually, it was the dad, of course, because...
No, the mom left.
Oh, it was the mom?
Yeah. And she was like, how could you leave her? Yeah. And like the love and like protection she felt, and like, but they were like peers and stuff, but there's like kind of like a mentor, like mom kind of thing going on. That was just so like
wonderful,
yeah.
And there's like a small detail of when she puts it back in her wallet and everything. She puts it so that they're like face to face, and so like the backs are out. And I was just
god,
yeah, it's a very good shot.
It's that's like really beautiful. I feel like that's not that sort of, you don't see that. Like a lot of media depiction of women is like catty bitches and blah 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 blah, but it's like that kind of that level of like of just like love, you know, like friend love. It's just like, that was really nice.
And also it's funny because like it is the capitalist like drive that ruins that for them. Yeah. You know, the moments where you see them really not jiving together essentially is because of the greed.
Because Ramona is continually striving despite the ethics of the situation. Right. And Destiny's trying to hold on to
something, some
kind of moral line.
Right.
You know. she's not, turning down the money that they're making, certainly, but it's, a struggle. And also,
you can see it in like the way that they spend it too. Like Alice, or not Alice, who's the woman, the white stripper?
I forget.
Oh God, but yeah. Well, anyway, she like her whole like
the vomiting one.
Yeah, the vomiting one, also hilarious. But like her whole
Annabelle.
Her whole goal was to have a place to live. Like,
yeah,
she was thrown out of her house.
Yeah, her parents kicked her out.
Yeah, and she was like has like a very like modest apartment and like
compared to Ramona's
like palace in the middle of Manhattan or whatever. So yeah, there's just very
some interesting stuff going on.
Back to the farewell though, because we've talked about Hustlers for a while. I want to get some closing remarks, then we can talk.
Yeah, so I will say. So I mean, now that I've talked more about Hustlers, I'm like, that's such a good movie. But I'm not very good at competitions.
Yeah. Well, this one's especially because I think that like
they're both really good movies.
Yeah, Hustlers. I think that there's a lot in there to find and to appreciate and to love.
Yeah.
Whereas the farewell is just like an emotional like judo match where it just like wrestles you to the ground. Yeah. It's just like, man, it just continually kicks you in the heart until you're like, okay, fine, I do feel this thing.
Fine, I'll cry. The farewell, I mean, the levels going on in the farewell are like that cultural level that I think is so interesting. And I think, it's a familial picture. I mean, Hustlers is like a found family picture, whereas the farewell is like about your actual
which is a family. Very like
very
cultural,
different vibe.
Yeah, it's like very culturally like very American of like you pick your family.
Yeah,
and then
there's definitely isn't there a line where they say in America? Oh, that was so interesting, that conversation with the uncle.
Yeah,
where he says in America everybody's like, it's all you. Yeah. You own your life and it's yours. But here, you are part of a larger group.
Yeah.
You are part of something.
And I love the thing that he says too, where he's like, we aren't lying to her. What we are doing is carrying the emotional weight for her. And it is our duty to do that so that she doesn't have to. And I thought that was like super interesting, where it's like, oh man, these people do not see this as like something
it's duplicitous.
It's duplicitous. It is a service that they're doing, and then they must suffer in silence.
Right. But it's like it's so interesting, because it's like what Billy's argument is like, it's disempowering. Like, what if she wants to do things? What if she wants to make plans? And they're like, what plans does she need to make? Yeah. So it's like it's really it is like they're justifying it as this like respect, but it is like disempowering on that level. So it's so interesting.
The woman who played Nene is like, I am a little upset that she didn't get a Best Actress nod.
I think Awkwafina should have gotten she won Best Actress at the Globes.
Yeah, I know. So we disagree on this. I think Awkwafina was really good in the movie and served her purpose like perfectly in this movie, but I don't like her emotional state is fairly static throughout it.
I don't think so at all.
Like, I think that she what her job is to show the audience how this knowledge is weighing on her and seeing how that interacts with her family and all that kind of stuff. Whereas I think in Hustlers you have like you have these people going through sort of like a bunch of different highs and lows, and for different reasons.
Well, so much longer.
Yeah, it's like a longer period of time, and also it just like, I think it stretches them, because it also has to show like their growth as like, I think it requires more of the actor to maybe do some of the stuff that Hustlers did, whereas
physically for sure,
physically definitely.
But that dance was fucking like literally while I was watching with Nick, I was like, how like how do you make a body?
She is holding herself up with her heel, like
it's incredible. Yeah,
it was very
like
impressive.
The physical achievement alone.
Yeah.
I'd be horrible at a strip club, because I'd just be like, this is amazing. And people would be like, you need to leave, man.
Yeah, this is not.
You're
what we're
ruining
here
the
for.
vibe, right? But so the reason I like Awkwafina's performance so much is like, I mean, she's like such an emotional core, and I think it's so interesting the way she processes. Like, she talks about how her childhood there, like it felt like something that was like her relationship to China is so deeply connected to her childhood experiences. And she talks about how she didn't really know what happened when her grandfather died.
Yeah.
Because of this tendency of like protecting your loved ones from information. And how it feels like it's being like taken from her. And she's in a way she
and
can't
all I could see in your eyes were like fear for her mother.
And I didn't understand.
It's a great scene. But I think you'll agree that every time Nene is in the frame, you're just watching her.
Well, she's fantastic.
She's so good.
Interesting.
Like,
and little things she did like reminded me so much of my grandma too. Like I love the scene of them when she's doing her little like exercises, and like Awkwafina's kind of teasing her a little bit, but then is like, and she's like, oh, like stupid child. Like it's just there's so much sweetness there.
And like, but also you see so much. You see this person who's like, so this whole movie is like it starts with lies. Right. And it goes through the whole thing. Everyone's just lying to each other all the time. Right. And it's so interesting because the
grandmother lies to Billy about the fact that she's even like in the hospital getting checked out in the first place.
Yeah, and even like, and it's so funny because it's lies built on lies. Like Nene is like lying about stuff because she doesn't know the greater lie that is causing some of the things that she has to lie about. So she's trying to
protect Billy. Billy's trying to protect her. Yeah. And it's like, guys, just talk about it, please, for the love of God.
And it's like, and it's just so good. But I think that
and the scene I'm talking about Awkwafina's acting in, the scene with the speech where the grandma's like, please go up and do a speech, and she's like so sad. Yeah. And does this very glum like, I'm so happy to be back in China. It's so wonderful to see it. Like it was so good.
Or when she's like walking up and she's like super sad, and then like her like Nene looks back at her, and then she goes over and she's like, hey auntie, and like it's very good. Like I agree, Awkwafina did her part perfectly. It was like very, very good. But I just like, if I was to give a best actor in this movie, I would want the actress who played Nene to get it 100% of the time. Yeah. But also like it, and this is another thing, is that Awkwafina, and maybe it was the way that it was shot, felt much more like American acting, where you're like, oh, this is a performance. Whereas Nene, I was like, this is just a person that exists. It's just like
Nene
around.
Felt very real.
It was like 100% just like her.
Yeah.
And like, it's amazing.
Maybe it felt like a performance though because she was performing.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because like she's lying the whole time.
Yeah. Maybe it's subjective. Yeah. Art is subjective, man.
She just really she really moved me. Like even just her like looking at the bird. I don't know.
But like for me, the part where I really started crying, I guess maybe this. Oh God, I feel a little sad.
Let's just cry about these movies together. Yeah.
But like when Awkwafina's hugging Nene to say goodbye, God. she's just sort of like on her shoulder, and then she's just like, "Are you crying?" And then you just like hear Nene, like her voice and how she is crying, and she's like, no, and then her like stumbling out after the car. It's like and just the weight of feeling like this woman hasn't seen her kids in 25 years.
Yeah,
like that
because
insane.
The brother who's Awkwafina's dad moved to America, and the other brother moved to Japan, and so there's like there's tension there,
and also
he feels that scene with the brother. The uncle, because it's after the uncle's like, you're gonna give it away, you're so emotional, blah blah, and then he has to give a speech at the wedding and just like breaks down, because he's like, I'm so sorry,
as he is sobbing.
it's so good.
Yeah, it's great. I love, and then like an undervalued part of this story that I thought was really, really funny. Yeah, I think maybe. It was just really great, was his Japanese wife who couldn't speak Chinese.
Oh, yeah.
But was just like there the whole time and being like, what the fuck is happening? Like, oh my, like, what am I asked to do right now? This is
the woman that the cousin is marrying. Yeah. Because they're giving a pretense for everyone getting together, but they like have only been dating 3 months.
Yeah. And so, like, there's a lot of times where she, like, they're like, oh, maybe you'll come back with a baby next time. And she's like, what the fuck? It's like happening. It's like, and you immediately, like, for me, my heart just like opened up as I was like what it's like when you're in that,
like meeting the family.
Yeah, but you're the one out of the group. Yeah. And the group functions.
Because she doesn't even speak Chinese.
Yeah. It's just like completely left out.
But she knows that there's like the lie going on, but she has no, like, as the scenes progress, she like doesn't know what's happening.
And like every so often the son will like turn to like talk to her, and then her eyes will be like, oh. It's like, it's just so good.
There's a lot of like dark comedy in this one. There's like little really funny moments.
And I think this movie does a really great job. Like, it is such a full, like, it is a web of relationships. Like, none of the family
that are complicated.
Yeah, and it's like some of the family you like don't get along, and some of the family they like like their ideals, because they're culturally from different places or are living in different places now. Like, you can see the uncle, like, get visibly mad at Awkwafina for telling her dad not to smoke, and then her dad refuses the cigarette, and her uncle is, like, pissed about it.
Yeah, there's, like, a gender, like adult child thing.
It's, like, a whole thing, and it felt like so, it feels like it feels like all these people are real living people that we're just, like, allowed to look at.
Right.
And it's really great.
In ways that are outside my own lived experience, but parallel enough that I'm able to connect and understand on a level, which is so hard to do. It's such an achievement.
So here's the thing that I wonder about is, like, would this movie be better without that little bit at the end that's like Nene's still alive 6 years later? And if it just ended with Nene waving to them as they drove away.
What you're saying is Lulu Wang should have killed her grandmother.
No, but like
I'm kidding.
No, like if it's just ambiguous.
No, you're right. I think she should have murdered her grandmother because it's a better story.
Yeah, I think so too. But no,
you mean literally the card that she shows. Yeah,
like literally, like if you didn't have that, like
I would think she died though.
Yeah, but like I think that if you leave it ambiguous of just like this visit being a moment in time. I kind of like that more. I do like knowing that she's still alive and still doing her ha exercises. Because that's great.
That was so cute. They showed her doing
this might be a it's a very superficial minus, but it made me kind of sad afterward. Is that I found out today?
Yeah.
When I was kind of reading
that
some stuff about
exercises cause lung cancer.
the air pollution in China is so thick. No, okay, but no, it's. That Nene found out of her diagnosis because the movie is so successful and
they had to tell her.
Well, that her friends were like, "It's so great, your granddaughter is doing so well," and they sent her a review of the movie, and the movie is called in China "Don't Tell Her," and it's just like, and they haven't talked about it yet, like.
How do you know that?
Because I read an interview with Lulu.
When was this?
Like a few months ago.
That's fucking crazy.
Yeah, so like I don't know what.
I want her. I wish this was nominated for like Best Picture. She could like bring her to the Oscars.
But also like it's a whole thing where I'm like it kind of makes me sad that now Nene knows because. Of
I want her to know though.
I don't know.
Oh, did you not want her to know?
I sort of
like you believed.
I just understood it, and I didn't.
I thought it was really interesting and cool how committed Billy became at the end.
Where she runs and goes, and then goes to like the Kinko's places. Like, can you change the
like
wording?
forge? Their medical paperwork.
Also, another great scene in this movie is when she's talking to the doctor who's like giving the fake diagnosis.
That's really interesting.
And they're talking in English about like, do you know that she's dying? And he's like, yeah, I do know. And then Nene's looking at them like they're hitting it off. It's like such a great moment.
It's right because there's different understandings that are going on that are
good.
So funny.
Yeah.
What a good movie. Nick, here's my proposal.
Yeah.
I think we should make it so that these tie.
Okay.
Can you agree on that? I think we just had a great time and watched some really good movies.
Yeah.
I think who loses is the Academy.
The Academy is bullshit
the loser.
Academy.
Yeah.
Like I think right now.
Yeah.
They should knock off Joker. What else is nominated?
You mean literally murder the guy who directed Joker? Because I agree. Knock him off.
I am never an advocate for murder, Mary Ellen.
I am always. So I'm glad we have that.
All right. So let's see. Best Picture nominees. Gotta look these up as I forget. And then we're going to see which ones we would knock off to have these ones. Also, the directors of... I think the director of The Farewell, like Lulu, should definitely...
Oh my God.
have been nominated.
Oh
that
my
is
God.
ridiculous.
It's offensive.
It's very well
Especially
shot.
that there's like no women directors, but like there's no women directors and not her.
Yeah, it's just
she's better than everybody.
Yeah,
it's beautifully shot. And Hustlers.
Yeah,
both these women directors should be here for Best Director.
All right, here we go. So I don't care about Marriage Story.
Fuck Marriage Story.
I don't care about The Irishman. I don't care about Ford v Ferrari. What the fuck is that doing on there?
Oh my God, Cars!
All right, here we go.
Shit?
I would knock off Ford v Ferrari and Joker and put on Hustlers and The Farewell.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
just like I think that this list has some good things on it. Like Little Women, I've heard is fantastic.
We didn't get to see.
Okay, so we went to see Little Women
just for fun,
just for funsies because we're good pals.
That's fun.
And we went to the theater, Somerville Theater. It's a really great local art house theater. You should all go and like watch movies there.
You can tell
we did I say that we lived in Somerville? did I say that we lived in Somerville, Mary Ellen?
We went there.
So we went there because it is in proximity to us. But yeah, so we went there to see it, and every showing of Little Woman was sold out except for the one that we wanted to see, and there was one ticket left, dear audience. One fucking ticket left. So we couldn't see it. So we went home and we watched Hustlers instead. And you know, I was
Fleabag.
Oh yeah, and we watched Fleabag and a little bit of Hannibal, which which friends and family out in the audience, why is Hannibal so like? Why are there so many people who like to watch this man eat people? It's like I don't know. I just couldn't do it. So we switched to Fleabag, which is fantastic. Everyone should watch it. Season 2, I think, is the better season because Mary Ellen started me there, and I agree. I think it's good. Ooh, now I'm vamping, but she is just writing stuff on the whiteboard. So I think
that brings both this. Do you have any others you want to
add? Mine are all very superficial, where Farewell is very meaningful, but you know what? It's fine. They're both great.
Friendship?
Friendship. What about like class commentary?
I'm not gonna write a novel.
Class commentary is 2 words.
Class commentary.
And then for Farewell, kicks you in the heart until you cry.
We already put Nick cried.
Yeah.
Let's say cool learning.
Cool learning.
Like cultural. Because we learned a lot.
We did, yeah.
Cool cultural.
And also the shot of the Chinese architecture made it feel like you were going to another world.
Yeah.
Like they were the exact same building. There's a shot in The Farewell where it's like the apartment building and it slowly pans back, but every single like foot it pans back or like moves back, it's just the same building that looks exactly the same over and over and over again, and it's such a cool shot, and I just love it so much. Both these movies are great. So we tied. How do you feel about that?
Well, seeing as I proposed it and deliberately made it happen, I feel good about it. Okay. I think both these movies are fantastic.
Yes.
In different ways.
A hard recommend for both of us.
I mean, like, fantastic work from 2 really talented women directors. Yeah. I'm excited to see what else they do.
Yeah.
It's fucking absurd that neither were nominated for their work. Death to the Academy. Not literally. Please don't arrest me.
Artistic death.
Artistic death. And that's my story.
Cool. Well, dear audience, we've tied. We are now going to talk to
Let's
you
shake hands. Good time.
Oh God, I hit the mic. All right.
Jesus.
I'm extending in friendship.
Yes. Well done. Good game. Good game.
Good game. We can go home with our ball now. Now, okay.
Yeah.
Next week or next session.
Oh God.
We have our.
Oh yeah. I was like, we forgot to pick because I forgot that we had picked.
Yeah,
okay.
and we picked a good one for all of you.
I like it.
Yeah. So give it.
Guys, we're gonna do a class commentary movies episode, and Nick has chosen.
I have chosen Sorry to Bother You,
and Mary Ellen has chosen Alien.
Oh, wait, there's so many dabs. Oh, we're gonna do it again. Okay. Nick has chosen Sorry to Bother You,
and Mary Ellen has chosen Alien. I'm so excited. I have never done an episode on Alien, and I'll tell this episode's gonna be 4 hours long. I don't give a shit. You're gonna get destroyed.
Okay, great.
Sorry to Bother You's great. You're gonna get fucking ethered.
I don't know if
just
Sorry to Bother
murdered.
You. Sorry to Bother You's been vastly
You're gonna get points for Armie Hammer. So.
But what about like?
He's like an idiot, but he's beautiful.
Also, I will say that already I can see the negative points coming at me for the naming in this movie. Like Cash is the main guy whose main goal is to make cash money.
Sure, but I like a straightforward.
You didn't like an Inception.
Yeah, because Christopher Nolan can suck my dick. Two individuals just walked by the room, and so I didn't want to yell dick.
Yeah, we're in a soundproof room, though.
That's true. Dick!
All right. Well, I will also say that please keep the subscriptions. Keep listening, please. And if you would
try to sound as panicked as possible when you ask.
Please. If we don't get our numbers up, they're gonna cut us off.
It's like Speed, but for listeners.
If we don't keep a certain amount of things, the podcast studio will explode.
Did you ever watch Muppets Tonight?
No.
They have an episode where Sandra Bullock is a celebrity guest, and they have they get taken hostage, and they have to keep their ratings above the level, or they get canceled. It's so funny. Anyway,
Muppets are.
I love the Muppets.
Yeah, we should definitely do a Muppets episode. Yeah.
I'm so excited we're doing this.
Muppets.
I'm so glad you're my friend. Nick, can you give me a picture of yourself from when you're like a child? We can have child pictures.
We can wallet pictures. That'd be so great. Oh my god.
Oh god.
Okay.
Do you want to become strippers together?
I think our place of employment would allow it. We can do a talent show and make it into a stripper 101.
They'd love it.
I think that
they would love it.
Yeah, and they would foot the bill too.
Absolutely.
We'd be able to just sweep up the stage.
And we could just drug everyone.
Whoa. Okay, you're going a little far. Going a little far for me.
I'm clearly the Ramona of this friendship.
I will say though, I have some weak ankles, so I don't know if I'm going to be able to
I have some weak everything, so we'll work on it.
That's true. But
please keep listening to our podcast.
Please keep listening. Also, if you could rate us either on iTunes
but well.
Yeah, again, 5 is the only thing that we care about.
Right.
I mean, we'll accept 4s, but 5s are like
we won't accept 4s.
Okay, we won't accept 4s. Sorry,
no.
I mean, I know some of you won't rate now, but that's okay.
We don't want it.
Also, if you guys could comment, it would also, algorithms.
Nick gets really excited every time we get any feedback.
I read
it's
every
adorable,
comment.
So
I really love
give
what
Nick
you
some
guys
joy
have
in
to
his
say.
life.
It really just keeps me going, but also it helps us in the algorithm to be pushed for more and more people, and we gotta buy those water rights, and the doom, like the apocalypse is coming, the great drought is coming.
Right.
We only have a specific short amount of time to buy these water rights, so please.
It's a little urgent, but
And all we're asking you to do
is support our Patreon.
Is to pledge fealty to the Water Kings. No, so please do whatever you want.
If you can, just throw us $1 or $2.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Also, you can follow the show on Twitter at
Movie versus Movie Pod.
I almost said
Movie Pod, I think.
I almost said the name of my old podcast. You can follow it too.
That podcast.
Nick feels a little jealous.
Yeah, it burns within me. I didn't get to talk about Fury Road, and we won't be able to talk about Fury Road.
Oh, we'll be able to talk about Fury Road, my friend. So follow on Movie Pod.
Yeah, it's also like both of us have links to it.
Yeah.
If you just troll our Twitters,
you can follow me on Twitter at Alyssa Caliente.
And I at the Nick Perrin.
And I.
And I.
We also have an email address, but I don't care.
Well, give the email address out so that people can send recommendations. If you guys want to have a theme or whatever for us to talk about movies that you think are specific, we always look at them. Sometimes we don't pay attention to them because they're not great, but sometimes we're inspired by them.
But priority goes to our single backer on Patreon.
We will do anything you say. Please continue.
We love you.
Yeah, you are perhaps the greatest of our fans.
Uh-huh.
In fact, I'm just going to say you're the greatest fan that
and we love you.
We love
whatever
you
you want us to do, we'll
deeply.
Do. Right.
Also,
the email is it's movie vs movie podcast.
Yes.
At gmail.com.
Great.
Movie vs movie podcast.
VS like the letters.
Yes.
Not like VS like.
Like what? Like what? Those are letters, Nick. What else could they be?
I don't know. I was just trying to
do you think it's like VEEESS?
Sure. Yeah, you're right. That's what I meant. And
that's our story. Do we have anything else to promote? Do you have any other projects going on the side?
Gonna be in a improv show March 1st at Improv Boston.
Hey!
If people want to come. It's called Celtic Wake.
What? Excuse
Celtic
me?
Wake. No, Celtic Wake.
Excuse me?
Yeah.
Are you mocking my culture?
Are you
making comedy? I am. Thank you.
It's basically we are improvising a Irish funeral.
Yeah, so you are.
Yeah.
You're making comedy of my people.
As I am not an Irishman
Yeah.
I.
What are you?
I don't know. You know,
Italian?
I've never felt the
obligation
to find out, and I think,
and frankly, I don't wish to.
Frankly, because as a white man, it's
right.
like, oh, I'm English, I'm Irish. It's like no, it doesn't matter.
For me, it's I have one side of the family who's very knows our roots in Ireland and there's I feel like there's Irish Catholic American cultures kind of specific and so then there's a cool I don't know. So that's it's important to me in that way, but I'm not
do you have the little heart ring
the little heart? It's a clada. Thank you. No, I don't. I used to have one.
Because that's a clot of metal to be lugging around.
I'm gonna kill myself.
I'm gonna kill everybody except for you and your family.
Do you know how the clada works? Where it's you point it outward.
You're looking for love.
Maybe I should get one. Yeah. Maybe that's been the problem this whole time.
People will be
oh, look at that that Irish thought over there. I gotta hit her up.
Also, if you guys want to, you should tell Mary Ellen whether she should download Tinder again. She's wavering. She's committed that she shouldn't.
I'm wavering in that I have a gun against my head and then the app on my phone.
So if you think, oh my God, Mary Ellen, get back on the Tinder, she'll make a poll on.
No, I won't. I won't do any of this.
Maybe I'll make a poll that's whether she should.
For your 89 followers.
I have 89 followers, and this is the definitive poll. So if you want, come on.
Wait, I'm
over.
sorry. For your 89 followers.
Yeah, they're the greatest, okay? Top 100 followers in all of Twitter. And guess what, friends?
It's not even
another 11 of you can be the top 100
Yeah,
followers
if you want to
in
get
Twitter.
in on the ground floor of following Nick.
I hit the mic again. I just get so excited.
I could tell.
Okay, this is
okay.
We're
done. It's over.
Yeah, I'm starting to cough.
We had a great time. Watch the Academy Awards. Oh wait, we should find out when they are.
They're soon.
Maybe we could live tweet it as a thing with the podcast.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Yeah, why
and also
not?
if people want to hear us just watch movies that are bad like Joker or whatever, and then just trash them as bonus pods.
Yeah, maybe we could do as a Patreon offering for our
one person. That would be really fun.
It's Sunday, February 9th. And so this episode is coming out. We actually timed this pretty well. This episode is coming out on the 5th.
Fuck yeah.
So
that's
the week before.
Marketing.
that's called. I'm rarely that good at planning these things. So I'm proud of myself.
All right. Next time, Alien versus Sorry to Bother You.
Class commentary.
Mary Ellen, take us out with a sign off.
This has been Movie versus Movie. Give your grandma a kiss.
Yeah, give your grandma kisses. Bye.
That could be our new sign-up for every episode.